Welcome back to Play on Theory with Kat's Media Methods. Last week we talked about operative learning theory. Today we will be talking about the active audience concept. Joining us is Mark Levy and Sven Windahl, who will be discussing their critique of uses and gratifications research. They are featured in Mass Communication Theory, Foundations, Fermentation, and Future by Barron and Davis.
Thank you for having us. We are really excited about being featured in Barron and Davis's book and sharing our original ideas with you.
So what are your thoughts on this concept, guys?
In my opinion, audience activity is not observable as audience members vary in their own activity level.
So basically the audience gets what they personally want out of the media content?
Exactly. For example, if you're reading a book for the purpose of enjoyment rather than learning, you have the intent to gain pleasure from this content. However, if you lack the intent to learn, your use of the book is less likely to result in learning.
So this means that it's the audience's conscious decision to achieve the intended effect of reading for fun rather than learning?
Precisely.
So Sven, do you have anything to add onto this?
Sure. So just to clarify, when the audience is willing to participate in their media choices, there will be effects based on those choices. So basically, audience activity is voluntary. So participants become an active audience when they are motivated by their own needs and goals.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. After the break, we will welcome Jay Plummer to talk to us about the term activity and its many meanings. Welcome back to Play on Theory. So now that we understand the audience activity participation, we should look into what exactly the term activity means. So to help us go deeper into this concept, let's give a warm welcome to J.G. Plummer.
So first, I would like to add that one major problem I found was that there's a wide range of meaning for the word activity, specifically when we're talking about media use.
So what exactly do you mean when you say there are different meanings for the term activity? Isn't activity simply referring to a behavior or an action?
So there are actually several meanings for the term activity, starting with utility. Utility describes the fact that people can use media in different ways.
So media can be utilized in more than one way?
Exactly. So for example, I prefer to watch football on the TV, while some people may enjoy listening to the game on the radio, like my grandfather who always has the AM radio on just to listen to the play-by-play. However, some people may only see the radio as a source for music.
Oh, so relating back to what Mark and Sven's point, that the audience gets what they personally want out of the media content because it can be used for different purposes.
Yes, so my grandfather wants to utilize the radio for play-by-play coverage, whereas I will use the radio to listen to music on my way to work.
Oh, that makes sense.
So this ties into the concept of selectivity.
Selectivity, what is that? What do you mean?
So people's use of media is going to reflect what they are specifically interested in. So since I'm a really big football fan, I'm likely to tune into different kinds of media for updates on the game, stats on certain players, fantasy football. So in that way, I'm using my media to fulfill my interests in as many ways as possible.
Oh, I can relate to that. My husband is a huge Patriots fan, even though I have the same birthday as Tom Brady, August 3rd, don't forget. My husband does anything and everything to keep up with the latest news on the team. Even if he's driving, he tunes into the radio to stay informed. And if we're out to dinner, he has the NFL app on his phone so he can receive live updates. It's pretty annoying when you're out in public, just saying. He even made me download the ESPN app on my phone because God forbid his phone dies. The Red Sox are losing right now, by the way.
Precisely.
But anyway, so what you're saying in your theories is that my husband is putting media to use,
Utility.
and he's consuming media due to his football interest.
That's selectivity.
So those are utility and selectivity meanings behind the term activity. Thank you for that, Jay. I think I understand it a little bit better.
Good. So to clarify though, selectivity in particular often gets confused with intentionality. The motivations of people can affect their consumption of media.
So what's the difference between the two?
So intentionality is the consumption of media that's influenced by a person's motives, while selectivity simply looks at the use of media based on preferences.
So basically it comes down to consumption and usage. Is there a difference between the two? Are they the same thing? Can you explain?
Yeah, so actually there is a difference between those two terms. So people's motives are further influenced by the psychological and the social context in which the media use occurs. So let's say someone has limited opportunities for social interaction. They're therefore going to be motivated to turn to media such as Facebook for companionship and social interaction. and social activity. So if that's their motive, then they will take in media to fulfill their goal.
Great, thanks for that clarity. So we only have a few more minutes before we turn to questions from the audience. Is there anything you would like to talk about we haven't touched upon yet?
Yes, actually, so I just wanted to touch upon one more meaning of the term activity. This is what I call imperviousness to influence.
Sure, go right ahead.
So actively avoiding media is ironically another way to look at the term activity itself. This is what I call imperviousness to influence, because some people don't let media influence affect them.
Well, that makes sense because considering impervious literally means that a person is not capable of being affected by media.
Yes, so exactly, if a person holds very strong beliefs about abortion, let's say, then that person wouldn't want to change their beliefs, let's say if they see a powerful or influential advertisement or a PSA.
So before we get too political, let's hear from the audience. You in the front row, would you like to ask Mr. Blummer?
What if people are continuously watching news or ads that contradict their personal beliefs? How do they react to that?
Good question.
Yeah, that is a great question, and I'm glad you brought that up. So, with the concept of imperviousness to influence, people may intentionally avoid news stations, let's say, that contrast with their political views.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm really happy she brought that up. So any other questions from the audience tonight or? Oh, perfect.
So my mom's pretty stubborn and does not want social media to consume her whole life, which is what it seems like it is doing for today's generation. If she is avoiding it, is she engaging in this concept of imperviousness to influence?
So yes, she is. This is because she knows that social media platforms are out there, but she is actively avoiding them because she doesn't want to risk becoming addicted and she doesn't want to have it influence her in bigger ways.
So that is all the time for we have right now before the break. Let's just recap what we talked about. We discussed the wide range of meanings of the term activity. We heard from Mark Levy and Sven Windahl, who discussed their critique of use and gratification research. We also heard from Jay Blummer, who analyzed this idea of activity by going into depth more about utility, selectivity, intentionality, and imperviousness to influence. We'll be right back.